Hi, welcome to Real Talk with the Get It Done Gals. I'm Nicole Lombardo.
I'm Lindsay Miranda.
And we have an interesting topic today that we're going to talk about, and it is all around getting your husband on board to invest or support you in your business. Now, what does that really break down to? So we hear two things, is that either things are not working in a woman's business and her husband doesn't support the business altogether and is wondering when she's going to go back to that 9 to 5, make consistent income, which we totally get. And the second one is when a woman wants to invest in her business and a husband says, well, I don't know about that, that's a lot of money, can't you just figure it out on your own? So we're going to dive into 3 things today. So one is, really getting out of your comfort zone and really looking at discovering what is holding you back from moving your business forward. Is it indeed your husband that's holding you back, or is there something in you that's holding you back? The second thing is really coming to your husband and asking for his support, not his permission, in investing in your business. And what does that look like? It means you have a plan of action. It means that you are an empowered decision maker and you simply want his support, not his permission to move forward. And the third thing, which I really love, is looking at the numbers. Sometimes as entrepreneurs, we start the business, we're so excited, we just got this health coaching certification or this life coaching certification, and we want to start a business, we're going to change the world. And then we go, oh no. All of our friends and family have sent everybody they know, and now I'm suffering because I don't have clients coming in the door, my website's not working, and I don't know what to do next. But we forget that we have to have those strategies, that we need to know the finances, that we need to know the numbers, and that's part of bringing that plan to your husband. So I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay to start into that first piece of getting out of the comfort zone.
Awesome. So what we want to talk about in the comfort zone is we hear a lot of excuses, and we ourselves make excuses too, right? We're all human beings. Like, for example, 2 years ago, I eliminated the phrase, I don't have the time, because I realized everyone has the same amount of time, I just wasn't prioritizing my time. So really, one is getting real with yourself, and what are you hearing yourself saying over and over and over again? That sounds like an excuse. So it could be, I don't have the time, I don't have the money, my husband's not on board with my investment or my business. So really, one, get real with that. And then 2, if the question or if the excuse that continues to come up is, my husband's not on board, my husband's not on board, I'd love to invite you to say, well, have I really come to my husband with a strategy in mind and talk to him about this business and how I see the business moving forward? And so really think about that and asking yourself, am I just using that as an excuse? Because a lot of times we hear that very often is, well, my husband's not on board, my husband says it's too much money. Well, my next question is, great, how did you present this to your husband? Did you come in as a partner and say, and this brings us to topic number 2, is ask for support, not permission, right?
If you have started a business and you're at the point of actually searching for a coach, then you know something's wrong.
Yeah.
So if you knew what the next steps were and you knew how to get money and in the door and clients in the door, you wouldn't be searching for a coach anyway. So it is kind of how you can start that conversation with your husband and say, look, I tried this. My expertise is in being a life coach or health coach or whatever you might be doing, and the business side of things I didn't really realize. But I have found somebody that I believe in that can help me, that knows the next steps, the step 1, 2, 3, because they've done it. They've done it in dozens of other businesses, and here are the testimonials, and here are the case studies. And you say to them, really, this is my plan of action. I plan on making this much money by this date and paying this investment back by this date. Because if I don't, it means that I either have to go back to the 9 to 5, and I'll be pretty bummed about that. And that's not living my life's purpose, if that's true for you. Or I can make this investment and actually make it work. And so really coming at it from that perspective, because, we fully want to come to the table and say that, disclaimer, we are not telling you just to say, hey husband, I'm putting this on a credit card, I don't care what you say. Right. That is not how we want to approach that.
No.
But it's really having the plan of action and understanding that You as a business owner need to show up as a leader. You need to show up as the CEO of your business.
Yeah.
And so that is coming from that place of asking for support, not permission, and getting your husband on board and making sure that he understands the outcomes of hiring a coach versus going back to a 9-to-5. Or let's talk about number 3 is finances and numbers. So how long can you stay on that hamster wheel and try to figure it out on your own and not make money? You know, this topic came up last spring because someone came to us and she desperately wanted to work with us. And she said, you know, my husband just thinks it's a little bit too much money. And so that held her back. But yet, you know, we had the discovery call with her and we knew exactly where we could have taken her. Mm-hmm. She could have been making thousands per month. She had a following, she was super smart, she had a website, she had programs, but she needed them reworked. She could have recouped that money within weeks.
Yeah.
Within weeks. And we watched her struggle for the last year because she did not take that time to invest in the next step and just get the insight that we had that we could have easily given her in working with her. And so when you look at those numbers, it's like, okay, what's a couple $1,000s versus losing money for the rest of the year? So let's just say she wanted to work with us in May. And let's say the investment was $2,000 at the time. I think she wanted to do a VIP day with us. And so in May, she didn't want to pay a $2,000 investment. So for June, July, August, September, October, November, December, she barely made enough money to cover her bills. Now let's say she had invested $2,000 and simply made $2,000 per month. She would have had 7 times 2,000, so $14,000 in the bank for that $2,000 investment. Because I can easily guarantee that she would have made $2,000 a month, bare minimum, from our day together. So you really want to start looking at, where does this cycle end? Yeah. You know, there is what is it? It's not there's a principle out there. It's not the 80-20 principle. There's another principle out there, and we'll put it in the blog post notes. But there's a principle that says that you have to have definitive, measurable goals. Yeah. And if you don't know the next steps in your business, you take those definitive goals to your husband and you say, look, here's my plan of action. This is the cutoff date. This is how I'm going to come up with the money to do it. And this is how I'm going to move forward. I would love to have your support.
Yeah, you know, that brings up such a good point, because when you have that clarity of the plan of action, the numbers, all of that stuff, and you're saying, I'd love your support, you know, this is the investment I'm going to make, this is how, you know, I'm going to make it, and, you know, these are the directions, or, you know, this is how I'm going to pay it back. Think about that version of it versus coming to your husband and saying, hey, I need $5,000 for coaching. I mean, seriously, think about if somebody came to you and said, you know, think about, I'm going to put it in another term. If my husband came to me and said, hey, I'm going to go spend $5,000 on a video game conference, right? My husband loves to play techie video games. I'm like, so wait, what is the purpose of that? How is that going to support you in your future? Like, you know, you're wondering all the questions instead of like, or if I came to him and said, hey, I'm going to just spend $5,000 on a coach, hope you don't mind. You know, then it's like, whoa, what's happening here, right? Like, or it's like asking your parents for $10,000 when you're in like college or something. And they're like, hold on a second, what are you doing with this money, right? Versus coming and saying what Nicole's saying, like, here are my numbers, this is my plan of action, this is how I'm going to pay it back, this is, you know, how everything's going to go down. It's a totally different strategy. So that's why you really want to come, you know, with the numbers in mind, asking for support, and not latching on to that excuse of, well, you know, my husband isn't on board with me, right? So people that are the like ones that stand apart in the industry, the ones that truly, you know, get where they want to go, they don't let excuses like that bog them down. And, you know, what's key is recognizing any excuses that you may have and then overcoming them and turning them around so that you're not relying on those excuses. Because a lot of times when we're relying on those excuses, it's just more comfortable and it's the comfort zone, and it's way easier to be like, well, I can't do it because my husband isn't on board, or I can't do it because I don't have the money. As opposed to getting out of the comfort zone and taking a chance on yourself, which is really scary, right? But what better investment to make than to make it in yourself? versus, all the other things that we can make investments in.
The money conversation is so interesting to me. I was writing about this yesterday because if you knew the next steps, you would do it and you would be making the money. And so I find it interesting that when people say they're not making money in their business and they don't have the money to invest, it's like, well, so how are you going to pay your bills next month?
Yeah.
If you're not bringing in money into your business and you don't have money to invest, how do you keep doing that month after month after month? And what we see is people who don't get the next steps is that it takes them so much longer to figure it out and how to put it together. And usually, finally, 6 to 12 months later, they're finally making some sort of money. But for me, this is why my husband told me, this is why I support you, Nicole, is because I always come with a plan of action and I say, I would love your support in this. I know that I'll learn this, if anything, here's a minimum feedback I'll get. But, if I don't do it, what is the cost? And he knows that I heads down, wake up every day, and this is my life. This is my passion. And so for me to invest, it has to be a pretty important thing to me. And so, when he and I had this conversation, it was funny because he was like, he's like, girlfriends in the past, I would be like, heck no, you're not going to spend $5,000 on a coach. But, with you, Nicole, it's heck yes, you have to do this. We just worked with coaches in New York, and it was $10,000 for the day. And he was excited. He was ecstatic for us because he was like, you've got to do this. You've got to do this. When they had put it up on their website that they had this program available, I just was reading it off to him and he was like, oh, you got to fly there and do it. I mean, what kind of support is that? That's the kind of husband support we want in our lives.
Yeah, definitely. I think that all stems from getting them on board. Mm-hmm. From day one when I decided to leave my full-time job for this business, my husband and I had that talk. What is this going to look like? What is our reality going to look like for the next 2.5 years? And we vowed that we were going to be partners and business partners. And one of the realities meant that we had to make some sacrifices. It meant that we had to cut back from things in our household. It meant that, we weren't going to take our honeymoon for a year because we were going to focus that year on any, investments that we needed to make on the business. There are a lot of different things that we decided that, we were going to have to, sacrifice. But to us, it didn't feel like a sacrifice because it felt like an amazing investment in our future. Mm-hmm. And that was, us getting that clarity on where we see ourselves going and our lives going, and then really saying and coaching each other around it. When one of us would be like, oh, I'm really bummed, I can't go to that thing, and then we'd say, hey, remember, like we decided this, year is going to be all about, investing, and we're investing in our bigger picture and our bigger future. So I think that's what's really supported me with my husband is we sit down and we really have clarity. We had clarity from the very beginning on what our vision is, where we see our lives going, how, our bigger purpose and why we're doing what we're doing. And then we also check in with each other monthly and just say, what's going on in the finance world, what's going on in the business world. I even joked with my husband recently and said, I really think we should have a book club so that every month you can learn what I'm learning and I can learn what you're learning. And, anything is possible for whatever you create, but what is important is, I think, is creating that partnership. And really connecting with each other, communicating with each other so that they understand what's going on in the business too. So that way, when you come asking for support, they're going to be like, I already see everything you're doing. You're amazing. I trust you. I know that if you believe this is the next step you need to make, then this is the next step that you need to make.
Perfect. So we hope that really supports you and that you can take a few nuggets from this and really, have your husbands watch this. And we're also going to do a video with Lindsay's husband, Danny, and my husband, Anthony, so that you can get their perspective on things. Because, I've been in this entrepreneurial journey for a long time, building businesses since 2008. So Anthony's been there every step of the way and has helped me build a few of those businesses and has seen the ups and downs and what it takes. So I think it gets, having their perspective on things is really, really interesting. So make sure to join us over in our free Facebook group, the Get It Done Gals, and we will look forward to connecting with you there. And let us know if your husband supports you or not and how you get him on board. You know, I think having that community to really share with one another our struggles, our wins, is really, really important as a community. So we will see you over there.